watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk, your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
I got a plan.
All right.
Oilers win the next 2 games. We get in one of these pontoon boats from Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, and we hit the river for a day.
I'm in.
Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. We are live out at beautiful Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, right in the heart of Sherwood Park, and we are sitting on a lovely pontoon boat. It is beautiful.
It is massive.
I'm so comfy.
I know it is.
It's actually kind of
very
making me
nice.
sleepy how comfortable this seat is.
You could have a nap in this. Catch some rays. It's a nice little shelter though if you don't want to catch some rays.
Couple of brewskis if you have someone else
You're
driving the
into
boat.
Yeah.
Like we did with Frank. We definitely just made Frank drive while we crushed beers on the boat.
Yeah.
Welcome into the show, everybody. Oilers Nation Everyday on Thursday, June 20th, live from the Sports Closet studio. There's a sports closet not that far from where we are right now.
That way.
Maybe we'll head there after. Maybe. Why not? The world's our oyster, Liam. Welcome into the show, and we got a fun one lined up for you today. We'll be going for just over an hour. We'll be joined by not just our guy, Frank Seravalli, for his daily appearance on the program, although he skipped on it yesterday, but that's fine. We had Fernando Pisani instead. We're also going to be joined by Louie Debrusk in about 19, 20 minutes. He's going to swing by and have a little chat with us about just about his vibes around this Oilers team, because he's in the city. He's in the thick of it. He's not working anymore. He's kind of got a different viewpoint.
I wonder how he's feeling about it all. You know, like because he has to be when he's on Sportsnet. I know it's Sportsnet was, but he does technically have to be like a neutral observer.
Yeah,
like an Oilers and alumni. Obviously, wants the Oilers to do well. He probably has a very interesting perspective on all of this.
Yeah, I agree. FICO was in. How in the F did you get Louie? Amazing texts.
He's been on the show before.
He has been on the show before. And he is a great guy. If you want to know what a great guy is, the first time we reached out to him, I DM'd him on Twitter because we followed each other. And I was like, hey, Louie, like, can you hop on the show? And he missed it that day. And he replied and was like, I don't check this that often. Please text me next time. Gave me his number. So, Louie, I think we can call him a friend of the show. He followed me on Instagram yesterday.
I think so, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
when
you make a second appearance.
That's when, you're really cemented in. And then when you make too many appearances, you become a natural enemy of the show, a la Frank Seravalli. But anyways, we got a lot to get to in the meantime as well. We're going to play Liam's game at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock. I haven't done that in a while, so we're going to give away $25 to nationgear.ca, where you can maybe use it to get a hoodie like Liam has. Maybe use it to get the new Play La Bamba or La Bamba mentality tees.
Hope Will Never Die t-shirts are back up and running.
Hope Will Never Die t-shirts and hoodies are both up and running. So giddy up.
Can be just like Mistaken Mexican.
You can be just like him. It'd be a great thing to rock to a game. Although someone tweeted me today and they were like, if I order something today, will I get it by game 7? And it's like, dude, game 7's like 4 days away. No, you're not getting it.
No.
I apologize.
Unless we have it in stock and you're a double XL.
Yeah, that's basically all we have left at the office is double XLs. Anyways, let's dig into a few things here, Liam. Before we get to Louie, before we get to Frank, we are 30 hours away from the Edmonton Oilers playing in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. It's important for me to remind you once again that our coverage of the final is brought to you by Fountain Tire. Fountain Tire is more than just tires. They offer a wide range of auto repair services from their expert mechanics. Visit fountaintire.com to see all of the mechanical services that they do indeed offer. Are you the same boat as me? I keep just
now, yeah.
Well, that's a great pull. That's a great play, Liam. Just in the sense, like, I keep driving in and like you see a big Oilers flag somewhere and you're like, damn, that's cool. Come in, you see a car with 6 car flags on it and you're like, damn, that's cool. And then it's like, oh yeah, the Oilers are going to play in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow night in Edmonton. Like, if you would have told me at the start of the year when optimism was at its absolute highest for this team that they would be playing in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, like, I still might not have believed you. There was still this aura and this sense of like, God, things just always go wrong for this team. And right now, and for the last few months, it just feels like everything's going right for this team.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing to see where they are. And you mentioned there off the top, just the flags and whatever else people have in their cars. The one thing that has like amazed me the last couple of days is, so coming out of my house, obviously like living like a little neighborhood, and you see people walking around in jerseys.
It's like crazy.
On a random non-game day. Yesterday, I saw there was 4 people when I walked out of my house. 2 of them together, 2 of them separately, and 3 of them had jerseys on. just walking around.
I went to go play slow pitch last night, and my buddy Eli, his mom came.
Oh,
And she was just rocking a McDavid jersey to the ball game, as you do.
yeah, as you're supposed to at this time of year, I guess. But it's incredible to see where they are right now. The vibes in the city are immaculate. I know if we were able to get down to the rink right now, which we weren't able to because Snoop Dogg is in town.
Yeah, I know. We were going to be doing our
Yeah.
show live from the arena, and then Snoop was like, can't film during my concert.
But
Set up.
Just being downtown at any moment in time is just amazing. I think everyone's just so heavily involved in this. I was actually talking to my parents last night, and my girlfriend at a soccer game the other day. Is kind of how the conversation was provoked, and so there's this kind of thing going around right now where on Oilers game days, people don't want to play rec sports at the moment.
Yeah.
And I asked, like, my girlfriend said the other team asked the ref if they could end the game at the minimum amount of time required so they could go and watch the rest of the game. So people don't want to do anything right now but watch the Oilers play.
Yeah, so like I'm in my co-ed slow pitch finals on Friday night.
Oh no.
Obviously we're not playing.
Obviously.
But I'm in this weird game of chicken where I'm like, I know because the league sent out an email at the beginning of the playoffs being like, as a reminder, we will not be making exceptions for Oilers playoff games. But that was like round one. I feel like their stance should change. So I don't want to pay the fine that comes with forfeiting a game and no showing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this game of chicken where I'm waiting for either the other team to do it first or the league to just email me like, hey, we're obviously not having games on Friday night. And I don't know.
What time's the game supposed to be?
6.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And like even if it was at 9:30, like no one's going to play in that game. So I'm in this weird game of chicken. So if you're in Friday nights in ESSC and you're playing me in the final, please don't hesitate to reach out. We can negotiate some sort of a settlement.
We can figure this out.
Yeah, we'll get it worked out.
Not every conversation has to end in war. Let's sort this.
So many forfeits. So yeah, I mean, Sergeant Battle's in here too. He's like, yeah, my slow pitch team has forfeited 3 games right now. Little Miss tries to fix it. That's a great name. Kids soccer practices on game nights in Alberta. My kid's been missing a few. I mean, it's at the point, like, again, I can kind of understand like round 1, round 2. It's like, okay, life's got to go on for people. You can't just totally shut down the city every time the Oilers play. It's the first Stanley Cup final in 18 years. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Shut down everything.
There's no need to do anything. It's funny too. My girlfriend again loves the Oilers, but isn't afraid to like miss a game here and there. And that's when she goes and does grocery shopping.
During games.
Like, it's so quiet. No one's there.
It's not a bad play, although please let her know I'm disappointed in her. She should be dialed in a little bit more. All right, let's get back into the hockey talk a little bit. And optimism is at an all-time high here in the city. The Oilers have crawled back. They've made this a 3-2 series, but I want to get into our Sherwood Ford Giant question of the show. Liam, we're out at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. If I do a little shoulder check over the boat, I can see the big Sherwood Ford the Giant flag through the back windows here at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. But I want us to get a little vulnerable here for a second. All right, it's the center, or it is our giant question of the show. What scares you the most about the Panthers and tomorrow night?
Oh, Bobrovsky getting better. I mean, that is obviously a huge worry at the end of the day. Like, this is a guy who had, I believe, his save percentage going into that third period of game 3 was at like a 970, right around there. And since then, his save percentage just started with a 7. He's not that bad. We all know that. So the worry for me is what can he climb back to? I don't think he can get right back to those heights, but I think improvement is surely on the horizon for him. So that's my biggest scare, is just Bob being better.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. And I mean, we're going to talk with Frank in like 35 minutes here on the show. And his kind of take today, not to fully steal it or spoil it, was like, hey, look back at that game last time. Like, Bob gives up the goal on the ice. Bob gives up a shorthanded breakaway to Connor Brown, which, like, again, he made a good move, but like Bob was denying those left, right, and center earlier on in the series. Like, Florida, there were moments in that game where Edmonton had Florida on their heels. There were moments in that game where Edmonton had where the Panthers had the Oilers on their heels. There were, if we're being objective and honest with ourselves, there were more moments in that game where Edmonton was scrambling back on their heels, where Edmonton was turning over pucks that they shouldn't. And that's, I think, where the concern comes in, is like, yes, the Oil have won 2 games in a row. Sergei Bobrovsky's struggles have had a lot to do with it. And Sergei Bobrovsky has rarely, over the last 14 months, if you want to call it that, he's rarely been bad for one game, never mind 2 games, never mind a potential 3rd game in a row. So, there some of it is glass half full, glass half empty kind of approach. But if you were to say, Tyler, what's maybe the worst possible thing that could happen tomorrow night? It's Bob getting hot again, because this is a Florida team that knows how to win, even though optimism is high. And I believe the Oilers are the better team when they're playing at their best. Florida's really damn good, and we can't ignore that. Game 1 of that series, Edmonton pours it on. They managed to win. Game 2, Florida was unbelievable. Game 3, Florida was really, really good. And Lyle says Bob's getting tired. And again, that's more of the glass half full kind of approach. There's 2 days off in between every game right now. He has plenty of time to rest up. And again, my concern there, I think the special teams can stay in advantage of the Oilers. I think we'll continue to get insane production from McDavid, because he's just locked into one of those zones right now. But I don't know if we're going to continue to get a struggling Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah, they just got to keep doing what they're doing, I guess, right? I don't think, like people were suggesting, that Bob is broken. I think the Oilers didn't magically find a weakness in Bobrovsky's game. Like, I think it's just always there. They're just managing to execute on it a little bit better. Again, I said this yesterday. I wonder what that save on Nugent Hopkins at the end of the game could do for Bobrovsky's confidence, because that was a huge stop. So I'm curious to see. The Oilers are just going to have to get to him early again. And like you said, like, the Oilers were probably on the back foot a little bit more. And the frustrating part, I think, about Game 5, when the Oilers were kind of coughing up pucks and everything, is they were up 3-1.
Yeah.
The confidence should have been in their favor. They shouldn't have been making plays like that.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully, again, not that we haven't done this song and dance 100 times, but like on that one goal specifically where Holloway doesn't get it out, Bouchard's flying the zone because he thinks it's going to get out, which, like, most of the time I'd be like, that's not really on Bouch. He thinks that's going. The Oilers are supposed to play a fast pace, keep things pushed in the right direction kind of hockey and skate down the other team's throat. But you're up 3-0 in a Stanley Cup Final game for Evan Bouchard. You can't just have blind faith that puck's going to get out. You got to hang back. And if you're Draisaitl, you can't just have blind faith that it's going to get out. You need to be aware and go, Bouch is up there. Holloway's pinned to the boards. Someone's behind me. Matt Tkachuk's always behind you, right? He loves being that kind of sneaky in the weeds kind of player. So there were some tough moments in that game, and hopefully it's, again, on the glass half full side of things, which is, listen, Florida played very good last game, and Bob played very bad. But I think we'd all say that was not Edmonton's best effort. And if they give their best effort, like they did in Game 4 of this series, then this thing's going 7.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the first part of that game, we saw some really good spots from them. But yeah, it needs to be longer. And I mean, to give Florida credit, it's difficult to play for that long of a game. Like, I think Game 4 was a bit of an anomaly, I guess you could say. Like, I don't think anyone's expecting another 8-1 game in this series. Like, or are you?
Oh my God. If it, and I know I said, like, there would be something about going to Florida and stealing a game you're not supposed to that would cause Florida to really, really panic. And I stand by that. And I ultimately think that's what played out. I'm now back to the other side, where if you want to cause Florida the most panic, you beat the ever-loving hell out of them tomorrow night. Like, if you win when you're not supposed to, I honestly think Florida is sitting there with, as strange as this might sound, a weird amount of confidence heading into Game 7, going, okay, we've actually played 2 good games now. We knew this was going to be a tough series. If we copy and paste it a third time, we're not losing 3 straight to this team where we have our game. If you go and hammer them tomorrow, and it's 3-0 early, and that building is just on a totally different decibel level and totally different stratosphere, and you just continue it right through the end of that game, Florida's sitting there going, oh my God, they've handled our best punch. Oh my God, we've now proven we can't handle theirs.
I saw some Florida fans tweet, and they've made it onto my algorithm now, about how there was a couple of things. One of them is not even worth conversation, just addressing how the Oilers are a one-man team. And somebody commented, is like, 15 of our players got points in Game 4 against you guys. It's like, yeah, but that was a one-off game. It's okay, whatever. And the other one was how the Oilers just capitalizing on all of Florida's mistakes, which I thought was very interesting, because obviously we think that, but I feel like the Oilers' errors are way more apparent than what Florida is doing. Like, you look back at, let's just look at Game 5. Obviously, a shorthanded breakaway, sure, that's a mistake, but it's a good finish at the end of the day. Then there was a power play goal, another power play goal, which was one of the best power play goals we'll see in playoff history from Perry, from what McDavid did. And then
not much of what Perry did.
yeah, from McDavid, sorry. And what was the other one? power play, shorthanded.
Boosh off the knee,
Hyman, I guess.
and then McDavid on the ice.
Yeah, so 2 of those goals are mistakes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the Oilers are bouncing off their mistakes. I feel like the Oilers are actually having to work pretty hard to get some goals here.
Yep, I agree with that. And that's, I think if you were to go through a lot of the goals in this series, I mean, the Connor Brown goal, like, if we're trying to just look at this as objectively as we can, that is a dumb pass by Brandon Montour.
But a great anticipation from Brown.
Yeah, great anticipation from Brown, and that's kind of what you're taught to do, right? Leg your stick behind to give him the illusion of the lane and then swing it up like that. It's good that he shot that way as well, because if he was the other way, he wouldn't have been able to like swing it up like that. So being able to have that sneak of the stick coming in, and then again, Barkov, like, what the hell are you doing? And the Ekman-Larsson mistake at the end of the game, thinking the puck was in and giving up, that probably doesn't end up impacting things all that much. So there were mistakes on Florida's end, but I do think for the most part, Edmonton had to work harder for their goals, but Florida was better at being opportunistic. Like, again, Matt Tkachuk gets that puck off the turnover, labels it in the top corner. Edmonton fumbles it, it goes back down low. Tkachuk puts it on a tee for OEL, labels it into the top corner. So I do think you need to give Florida some credit for being opportunistic, but still, I think the point stands, and this was my point coming into the series, and even though I maybe wavered from it a bit after games 2 and 3, I'm back on. If Edmonton is at their A, it does not matter what Florida is at. Edmonton at their A wins that game tomorrow night.
Yep, I completely agree. One other thing that's been brought up in the chat. I don't think there'll be a concert tomorrow.
They haven't announced anything, so they haven't announced.
I don't think there was one for Game 5 either.
Well, down in Florida?
Yeah, so I think the first 4 games are easier to do because they're guaranteed.
Yeah, because you got to pre-book everyone, right? Yeah. And if you're going to shell out the money, I know people are, and I talked about this too. I was like, man, if you had Nickelback there, like, forget about it. And there's a gap apparently in Nickelback's tours, but there's so much that goes into playing a concert. You need to be thinking about this 2 weeks ago, and you don't want to. I'm assuming you don't want to, if you're the NHL, shell out the money, then have it not get there. You know, all that stuff.
Yeah, wouldn't work.
If they have Nickelback there tomorrow, I will shit my pants. Also, what I'd love to hear from people in the Charm Diamond Center's YouTube chat is, what are your plans tomorrow? Obviously, we know Greta is going to be rocking. Downtown is going to be absolutely bumping. But like during the day, like, is anyone actually taking the day off work? Has anyone talked to their boss? Is anyone in here a boss themselves and just kind of been like, hey, everybody, gather around. You can go for an extra long lunch at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Wink. Anyone doing stuff like that?
So here's a question. Do you want an extra long lunch, or do you want to be let go an hour early?
Let go an hour early.
Yeah. So then you can get going for early dinner, I guess you could
early dinner.
Are
you going to go?
I'm going to go to the game.
You're going to be press box boy?
I mean, I just want to be in there. And I can't buy a ticket. I can't afford one. So my access in there is the press box. It's obviously a much different vibe than what it would be if you're amongst the people. But I just want to be in there so bad. My friends, I think, are going to go down and grab a couple at Greta and then make their way down to the moss pit beforehand. And then go from there. And then after the game, hopefully the Oilers can pull it out. And then I'll be amongst the people in my suit and tie, like JT. Maybe not like him right now. Scratch that. Cut that one.
edit, Aaron, edit it out. I'm just looking right now at the get-in price for the game tomorrow. I will not say the ticketing app I'm looking at because they don't pay us any money. You guys have to pay for your mentions. But oh my God, section 207, row 12, 2 seats together, $2,400 US.
Oh boy,
that's like $3 grand.
So crazy. I'm
going to be going with my dad. I'll be in Philly.
Yeah, my dad will.
Dad, if you're listening, dinner on me. Is that a good trade?
Get KFC on the way in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, fried chicken on the way in.
Yeah, you got to pay for that KFC. Dad, we're getting Wendy's. How's that sound?
My bad.
There you go. We're going to be joined by Louie Debrusk in a couple of minutes here, but what do we want to get to, Liam?
There's been some Zach's at the press conference right now.
Okay, well, give us, you know what? Let's get a little in the rink report for our friends at Wilhauk Beef Jerky, Alberta's best tasting beef jerky. You can order online, wilhaukbeefjerky.com, or you can head to one of the 3 spots in the Edmonton area, Spruce Grove, Leduc, or the kiosk in West Edmonton Mall. What's happening at the rink?
So, obviously, the Oilers skated this morning, not in Rogers Place, but in the downtown arena. And Chris Knobloch said on Evander Kane, this is from Zach, on his status ahead of Game 6. We've got some things to think about. I still haven't seen TD, who's our trainer, to follow up on how good he feels. we have possibilities. But also, Jason Gregor reported that Evander Kane was skating on the fifth line.
So probably a bit of a sign.
Good sign to see him on the ice, though. At least we haven't seen him out there for
Yeah.
a while. I mean, look, I don't think Evander Kane, if he's going to come back, he's work his way into the top 9. But I don't think it's out of the question that he would obviously be a contributor on the fourth line. It's not exactly been thriving. I mean, I think the guy you would take out is probably Derek Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I think, if you're looking at the Oilers' fourth line, you move out Ryan, you put McLeod there, you go Kane, McLeod, Perry. I like that better than what it's currently at right now. I also just think, again, game 6, you're going to have 2 days off. I think it's a bit of a burn the boats kind of day if you're the Edmonton Oilers, and I want to see Knoblauch adjust here because I really didn't like how he used that fourth line in game 5 of the series. Coming out of TV timeouts, I want Connor Leon on the ice. After you score a goal, unless it's a power play goal. If it's a power play goal, actually, no matter what, I want the third line out there. That's my hard working trio.
Yeah.
That's who I want out there to calm things down and continue, not calm things down in your own end, but also push play back the other way. I want that third line out there. So,
it really just doesn't make any sense to me. You pointed it out last game, and I noticed it way more than I wanted to. And it's nothing against those guys, but that third line just works so hard.
I know.
Like that Connor Brown last game was an absolute dog. Yeah, they can score goals. Like that play right off the bat in game 5. Where I think it was Brown who found Yaremchuk right in front, and Yaremchuk just didn't quite get a hold of it. But yeah, that's the line I want out there to be playing in those moments.
Yeah. Anything else from the rink, or is that about all our?
That was kind of like the only thing Zach had was that tweet. So not a lot going down, but we have some lineup stuff. We'll
get to a lineup report later. But for now, why don't we get out to the Star Mechanical guest line? It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about everything they do by visiting them online at starmechanical.ca. Residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency service. They can do it all. And joining us today on the Star Mechanical guest line it's his second appearance on the show, so he's officially a friend of the show. Louie Debrusk joins us. Louie, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing today? You excited for tomorrow night?
Beyond excited for tomorrow night. Are you kidding me? We're doing the show from a boat out in Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. We're having a absolutely great time getting set for Game 6. How have you been enjoying things I guess, you're not on the broadcast, you're not working, you're just kicking your feet up, having a beer and watching the oil?
Not used to having this phone sideways here. You know what? Exactly. I'm pretty chill, to be honest with you. I'm watching the games at home and, going along every single second, every minute of the games and hoping these guys can get it done. It's been a nice comeback to make it a series and really push the Florida Panthers. I mean, after an 0-3 deficit to start the series, statistically, you look at it and go, hey, this is not going to be good. But to their credit, they buckled down, made it game by game, and found a way to win 2. And they'll need to win 3 to push to 7. So, yeah, I've just been taking it in, enjoying it, and, golfing a little bit, but at the same time, enjoying the buzz around the city right now that's the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And I mean, you're talking about the comeback here in this cup final, but the whole season, and you were there every step of the way, the whole season was an unbelievable comeback from what they went through. And when Liam and I were down in Florida for game 1, we were asking all the guys, like, what was the moment in the season where you felt like you got their where they felt like they got their swagger back? And they all said it was the game against Washington when they won 5-0. Was there a moment for you, again, following this team and being around them as closely as you are, where you were like, all right, this is getting turned around now?
That was the time for me too. I agree with you. I think, it almost got to a point, guys, where you just saw the team, and I know Jack and I have talked about this at length about the eye of the tiger. We joked about it a little bit, but when they came into the building that night, they had lost a tough one in Carolina, and you could just see there was some video of them walking down the aisle, and there was just a look of intensity on their face, like, you know what, okay, enough's enough. We've had enough of this. It's kind of been trying to get ourselves back on track the entire season. It was still early at that time, but it was late enough and enough games had been played that they knew that if they didn't turn it around quick enough, that it could seriously go the other way and spiral out of control. So they came into that game, and I think that was the first time after losing 3 in a row, since Knoblauch had taken over, that it was okay. We need to start buckling down and playing the right way. They came out and beat Washington, and as we say, the rest is history. They went on to win 8 in a row, 16 in a row. They just had an amazing season. It was in a season where they found a way to put bunches of wins together. They limited their losses. They were in a lot of games, and it was the way they were playing the hockey for me was just the biggest change, and just attention to detail. They started to buckle down, be a harder defensive team to play against. And I don't think that gets talked enough. I really don't. I think now, obviously, being in the Stanley Cup Final, people have really started to take on that mentality of when they defend and when they play hard and stingy, they have the offense to win hockey games, but it's the defensive game that has been really impressive for me over the course of this year. And something they had to work on. Let's face it. If they wanted to win, they wanted to get themselves to this position. That's what they had to do. But no question, that game in Washington for me was the stepping stone. It was the turning point. And you know what? They haven't looked back since, and they're still in the Stanley Cup Final.
A big reason why they've been able to get back into this Stanley Cup Final in terms of getting into the series. Connor McDavid. I mean, what he's doing right now is absolutely insane. And again, you got a front row seat to it so many nights in the regular season. How special is it when you see him just click into those video game like modes that he's currently in right now?
It's amazing. And, I would hate to say it, but we haven't, I don't want to say we've gotten used to it, but we've seen a lot of amazing nights from Connor over the last 9 years. It's been remarkable. And, we never want to take it for granted. That's something we talk about a lot, is making sure that we don't just sit here and just have an expectation of, oh, this is just what he does. This is what this team does. Because there's a lot of running mates with him that have had some amazing performances over the years. And, led by Connor, no question about it. His game right now, he's found it. And he went through some difficulty in the series. He's gone through some difficulty in other series where, let's face it, teams going up against Connor, they know that they have to play him really tough. They have to play him hard. They have to be in his face. They have to take away his time and space as much as they can. And they've done a great job. Florida's really good at that. But he's starting to find a way to chip away at that armor. He's starting to find a way now where he's exploding in games, finding that pace, finding those plays. And at the right time. I mean, listen, backs against the walls, you're either winning or you're going home for the summer. This is when this team plays the best, and they've showed that. But for Connor, he's rewriting history. It's really incredible. And I don't think we can say it enough about how incredible he's played and what he's doing in the modern game to be in the likes of the Mario Lemieux and the Wayne Gretzky's of the world. I mean, he is climbing ladders that only a few select players in the history of the game have climbed. And great on him. And it's not that he's not aware of it. He is. But for him, the focus is about winning. It really is. And you look at him after the press conference after Game 5, there's no elation there. It's not. He's put up 8 points in the last 2 games to win games 4 and 5 to stave off elimination and continue in the Stanley Cup Final. And he was all about business. He was all about the next game, coming back home and winning game number 6. And you love that mentality from him, because really it is destiny. It's destiny for Connor. He understands that. He's a generational player, and generational players find a way to win. They find a way to win cups, and he understands that. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that I don't think we talk about enough. And good on him. Good on him to be playing his best hockey right now when it matters the most.
I know you have one, but just quickly to follow up on that a little bit, because we got a comment in here from Ryan who said he still remembers 2015, McDavid's first practice after he came over in the draft, and how crazy everything was. I remember we were talking to Brendan Perlini not that long ago, and we asked about McDavid being a captain so young, and Perlini kind of said it was weird for guys in the room to have this kid be supposed to be looked to as a leader. And now you look at McDavid, he's going in the press conferences, he's got this calm but just confident demeanor. He said that we're going to drag him back to Alberta thing, which I absolutely loved. How have you seen McDavid kind of evolve as a leader over his career?
I've seen it similar, Tyler. For me, it's been amazing to see him grow. Like I talked about, that pressure that comes along with being the best player in the game. And I think it took him some time even to have that title. He has so much respect for the older players in the league. He has so much respect for the stars in the league that he was a fan of growing up. I mean, that's the one thing about players, the best players in the game over the course of time and history. They're the biggest fans of the game too. They're students of the game. They're the biggest fans of the game. They dissect it and study it like we do. They look at everything, and they want to be like those players. There was an article or something I saw on one of the social platforms recently about when he was 17, right before he got drafted in 2015. He was watching the Stanley Cup being handed out, and his quote, I believe, was on Insta or Twitter, but he said, it's amazing to see this happen, but at the same time, is anybody else jealous? Does it make anybody else jealous seeing these other guys holding the Stanley Cup? That kind of gives you a little insight as to what his mindset was going into not even being drafted yet, but he understood he was going to get drafted. He knew he was going to go first overall, and he was going to have an impact on an organization. And he's had an impact in the entire National Hockey League. And I think that with that comes along those lines, you have to learn to mature and grow and handle that kind of pressure. I think that's been his biggest asset. Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the longest tenured Oiler. It's a difficult market to play in. This is a tough place. Darnell Nurse, you take the positive, you take the negative, and you go out there and you put your best foot forward and you play your best game. These guys all want to win. Every single player to a man, that's all they're thinking about. But with Connor, there comes a little extra, and he's been able to handle that. And like you mentioned, Tyler, you're seeing it now come out in a confidence where he's much more approachable. I think for me, he's more confident in that role as being the best player in the game. And it's starting to bring him out in that capacity where he's not afraid to say something from time to time that's a little edgy or a little whatever. He's not afraid to control an interview instead of just going with the punches. He'll just, turn off a question that he doesn't really want to answer. And that's all maturity and just growing. But I agree with you. Sometimes giving a captaincy to a young player like Connor maybe isn't always the right choice, but it's the choice that's maybe needed to allow him to grow into that role and grow into that leader. And we're seeing that now right in front of our faces. And that's pretty incredible.
You worked the Carolina New York series, which was in a very similar spot to what this one is now, of course. Like, what were the vibes like in that one? And do you think this series is different to what that one was?
Yeah, I thought it was a great series, and I thought it could have gone either way. It was a similar series, I would say, in the sense that Carolina, in the first 3 games, pretty much did everything I thought they could have done. They lost 2 overtime games. They could have won every game. Like, that was the way it was. And similar to Edmonton in game number 1, they should have won that game. Game number 2, you have to give to Florida. They were dominant in that game. Yeah, they had a 1-0 lead till the 9:30 something of the second period. But then once the 1-1 goal was scored by Florida, we know whose game it was. And even the Oilers understood that. They sat back a little too much. Game 3 was kind of a mixture in between of those 2 games. I felt could have gone either way, and Florida found a way from a charging Oiler team in the third period that made it a 1-goal game. But since that point in time, Edmonton's found a way to overtake and find a way to get by. Number 1, Bobrovsky, and number 2, manage the way they play. And Stuart Skinner's playing great too, which he has done when the back's up against the wall is when he plays the best as well. So similar in that regard that I think the first 3 games could have gone either way. And, 2 of them especially, the one we're going to give to Florida, and I think that's safe to say they were the much better team in game number 2. Different, though, I think, is the sense that it was a little lower scoring. It was a little lower scoring in the sense that now that we're starting to see it open up, you're starting to really see the offense come out. And that's what I thought coming into the series was you're not going to hold Edmonton to 2 goals a game. I'm sorry. No, they did that. They did that in the first 3 games. They were able to really crunch down and defend, but they haven't been able to do that in games 4 and 5. And Edmonton's found that stride. You're starting to see the big guns really come into their own. Leon Draisaitl, too, is another guy that he's going to have a game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's next game. I know he possibly is dealing with something we don't know. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's done a lot of other things. The thing I liked about him in game number 5, and I noted it many times in the game, he was backtracking, stealing pucks, and that's where when he's engaged that way, it doesn't have to be on the score sheet. And when you get to the playoff time, I know everybody wants to see the goals and see the great plays. A lot of times, those are the plays that win hockey games. Those little defensive plays, winning a 50-50 puck battle, managing a puck and being smart, not turning it over in the wrong areas. Those all become compounded and so important that sometimes we overlook those. I don't overlook those. Those are the plays to me when I look at a game. I'm like, yeah, you're winning the board battles, you're winning the positional battle, and you're making sure you're putting the puck in the right place. You have a really good opportunity to win because you have the talent and the skill to score goals when you get your chances. But, yeah, I would say those are the 2 comparisons to the series. It was a great series. I thought Carolina could have won it. They made it a series, but the Rangers just were a little too strong early on, got some timely goals in overtime. Trocheck and Panarin scored those 2 goals to go up 3-0 in the series. And again, you're fighting from behind. Any mistakes cost you, and then they found a way to finish it off in 6.
Last one we got for you. We're going to go out to our inbox because it is absolutely buzzing right now. Our inbox is brought to you by Great Clips, more than 4,400 hair salons throughout the United States and Canada. It is the official hair salon brand of the NHL, and your time is valuable, which is why they have the Great Clips check-in app. See the wait time, check in on your phone, and get your haircut when you want. Great Clips. It's going to be great. Louie, you are getting a ton of compliments on the facial hair, by the way. People are absolutely loving that. Now
I can't shave it now, can I? I can't shave it now. I got to keep it going.
Tell me about it.
I'd like to show off mine, but the zoom on our camera is not that good. I'll get to this one from Hurtin Albertan here. He wants to keep it simple for his inbox question. What are your keys to victory in Game 6 for the Oilers?
Yeah, the same that I've been saying all year long. I know it's cliche, and I know but it's winning hockey. You got to come out and have a good start. I think you have to manage the puck early and force. I don't think Edmonton's as good of a team sitting back as they are pushing. And I think the Florida Panthers are a much better team when they're pushing than when they're sitting back. That's the difference. And when you look at the periods that Edmonton's been successful, what have they done? They've forced. They've been aggressive on the forecheck. They've gotten on the defensive Florida, and they've been able to spend a little bit more time in the offensive zone. It also, that back and forth, down and back the ice, we talk about transitional play, that starts to open up, and where Edmonton started to find some scoring. I think 7 of the 8 goals in the one game were from a rush type of situation. So for me, get your feet moving, be physical, get on pucks and win those battles. I don't think you can allow the Florida Panthers to dictate play in the offensive zone, because when they do, they're a fantastic team and they're really good at it. So you have to force them to get a little out of their comfort zone and defend a little more than they want to. Not easy to do, but I think that's the game plan. If they can execute, they have a good chance of winning Game 6.
Louie, cannot thank you enough for giving us some time today, man. Always appreciate it. Enjoy Game 6. Enjoy the rest of this run and enjoy the vibes in the city.
Yeah, you too. It's going to be great.
There you go.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Louie Debrusk, true broadcast professional, throws in the Great Clips tagline at the end.
There.
It's going to be great. I like that. He's doing good work for us and our sponsors. Appreciate Louie giving us a few minutes here. Miss him on the broadcast, though.
I know.
I'm happy he's getting the golf, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little Louie on my TV.
Yeah, I can't wait till they're back. The duo.
Yeah, Jack and Lou.
And even Gene. We don't get
we don't get as much Gene,
on TV.
Not our classic vintage Gene that we're used to. Derek Ryan is in. Yes, he was the one who asked the question, and I would have brought it up if I remembered. I just remembered seeing Ryan and the question or the comment about McDavid in his first practice back in 2015. So I apologize to Derek Ryan over in the YouTube chat for that. And a big shout out to everyone who dropped in questions. Sorry we couldn't get to more, but we promised Louie we'd only have 15 minutes with him. So we even went long on that, but he gives us great answers. And he's always happy to give us time. He's 2 for 2. I've texted him twice. I said, Louie, you want to come on the show? And both times he goes, I'd be happy to.
What a man.
He's the man.
Very detailed answers. A lot of insight. Clearly well-versed, obviously, on what this team's all about.
Yeah. Let's get into, Liam, our lineup report. It is brought to you by Boston Pizza. It has been more than 30 years since a Canadian team has won it all. What would it take for other Canadian hockey fans to set aside their differences and their rivalries and cheer for Edmonton in Game 6 and 7 of this final? Guess we're still trying to find out. Shout out to our friends at BP's. I went yesterday for a nice round of golf with my parents. It was a lot of fun. You know where we went after?
BP's.
Wing Wednesday. You already know it. Got an ice cold Blue Moon was the beer choice last night.
I get the Blue Moon quite often when I go there. It's quite good.
Very good. Very, very good. And the wings, they got new wing flavors as well. There's like, speaking of Coombsy, there's a hot honey. There's a hot honey wing flavor. It is so damn good. Anyway, shout out to our friends at Boston Pizza. Okay, let's dig into things here on the lineup front, starting with Edmonton. You talked about Evander Kane skated on the 5th line with no rotation into that 4th line at all. So I think the safe assumption here is same lineup tomorrow as the Oilers had in games 4 and 5, and I get it.
I get it too. I honestly, this is clearly Kane's just not even close. I feel like if he was closer, they would put him in. He gives you he's not been good, don't get me wrong, since probably Game 6 versus Vancouver when he made that great forecheck play and all that stuff. But he's been hurt. But if he's healthy, he makes you better. Even if he's like 70%, he makes you better than what this 4th line is kind of bringing you right now. So he's clearly just not close to where it needs to be. Who else would you bring in, right? You could maybe consider Carrick, but I don't think they're going to change anything. Makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate Carrick in, and I see Joel says I want Carrick in.
Kind of do too.
I see the logic there. I'd be fine with it. And Sean just said our 4th line is our only weakness. I agree with that. I think maybe I'd hesitate a bit on the word only just because there are some defensemen who are certainly struggling at this moment. Darnell Nurse had maybe his worst game of the playoffs, I think, last time out.
Yeah, he wasn't great, wasn't he? Do you know another reason why Carrick I would bring him in is what Florida did, and the players they're bringing in. I think Carrick would have been a good counterpunch to what Florida's doing because they're going to bring in Nick Cousins, who hasn't played for a while. He's a passer. We obviously know what he's kind of all about. Bringing Carrick kind of counter that a little bit. Wouldn't have been the worst idea.
From a Florida perspective, Liam, why don't you take me through the notes here? What's changing in that Panthers lineup?
Yeah, so the Panthers are going to go with OEL on the power play, replacing Brandon Montour. Obviously, OEL known to be the offensive guy. He actually played pretty well last game, probably their best defenseman.
Good game right up until the end.
Yeah, right up until the end. Nick Cousins comes in for Kyle Okposo. Nick Cousins hasn't played since game 3 versus the New York Rangers.
Wow.
Aaron Ekblad did not skate, but apparently nothing to worry about. Paul Maurice said they skated for 19 minutes. What was he going to do in 19 minutes?
Skate?
That's probably fair. Josh Mahara just took his spot. Good St. Albert boy.
Good St. Albert boy. This is totally unrelated, and basically none of the listeners will get this. But did you see Michael Menzies' tweet the other day of his Don Cherry impression of
Connor?
It was Connor Brown.
Yeah.
It was so spot on, and I don't know if Menzies listens to the show, but if someone here knows Menzies, tell him he did a tremendous job. He tweeted, it was just like. I was going to say it's in my likes, but likes are private now. But it's the picture of Don Cherry, and it goes, let me tell you this, Connor Brown, look at him. What a good-looking guy. Watched him at 15 with the Toronto Marlboros. Look at him with the stick, skates by that big fin, and ping, beats Bob Regalov.
Bob Regalov.
Bob Regalov. That is good stuff. I just got word. Confirmed. Frank Seravalli walking back to his hotel from the arena. 6 to 8 minutes, according to the insider Frank Seravalli, and he'll be ready to go on our show. A couple of comments over in the YouTube chat from our friend Mistaken Mexican. Can we flash up the photo of him if we're going to talk about him? Give everyone the visual. There we go.
What
Great
a picture. That goes so hard.
It goes so hard. Mistaken Mexican, beer is on me, Tyler, assuming at the game tomorrow. Assuming you're in the same spot with McMullet, you'll be about 10 feet away from me.
Yeah.
So very easy for us to link up for a beer. I look forward to that. He also said, speaking of golf, Oilers Nation, when can we purchase Oilers Nation Open tickets? And that is a fantastic question. And guess what? It's unfortunately one that I don't have an answer to. But here's what you can do if you're itching to get in on a little bit of golf right now. You can just go to Mill Woods anyways, get a lay of the land, start to learn the course a little bit so you and your friends can absolutely dominate this thing coming up at the end, on September 1st when we do have the Oilers Nation Open. Mill Woods Golf Course, private club conditions for under $100. Greens are always immaculate. Fully stocked pro shop with loads of local clothing lines, which I absolutely love that they do that. For more information, head to millwoodsgolfcourse.ca. Excited to be teaming back up with them. Also in the comment section, shout out to my dad who just commented a thumbs up. I think he's listening like 15 minutes behind.
One of those guys.
And he probably heard my comment about dinner.
Excited for his Wendy's.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Excited for his Wendy's. Baked potato guy. Shout out to our friends at Wendy's, by the way. Fresh, never frozen Canadian beef. Austin is in. 665 people in here. Get the likes up. Hell yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah. Brian is in. Florida shots from the point on power play. Brown and Janmark. Eat them up.
Gobble, gobble. Do you know, actually, here's a fun little fact. Now, I hope I don't mess this up, and I'm sure this was Gregor that said this, so give him some credit.
Then it's probably correct.
Nurse, CC, Fogle, and McLeod have not been on the ice for a goal against on the penalty kill yet.
Who?
Nurse, CC, McLeod, and Fogle.
Wow.
Have not been on the ice for a goal against in this playoffs on the penalty kill.
I saw this video, and it was going around on Instagram, of this kid being like, the Oilers have had the luckiest playoff run ever.
Sucks.
He's a moron.
The lamest person to walk on this earth.
That guy.
Yeah, I can't stand his content.
So his logic. Sorry, I just read another comment from a Yaremchuk in there. It was my sister. She said, or dad is live, but it took him 15 minutes to figure out how to comment, which, again, might line up. Okay, so the guy, his whole logic, he goes, in the first round, they played the LA Kings, who were probably the worst of all the playoff teams.
Washington Capitals.
My boy, are you aware of the Washington Capitals? And I would even add in the New York Islanders exist.
Yeah.
They both stunk.
Did they both get swept?
No, one of them ended up being in 5.
Islanders won a game. That's right.
They won the one in like double OT.
Yeah.
Both of those teams were substantially worse than the LA Kings. And I would add, Edmonton made LA look a lot worse than they are.
I think so too. I think LA wasn't so bad.
Okay. And then he goes, and then against Vancouver, they got to play against Arthur Seelovs for the entire series. Okay. Sure, I do get that a bit. Them not having their Vezina caliber goalie in that playoff series was significant. But go back through that series, man. Seelovs had good numbers, goals saved above expected and all that. Like, Seelovs was good.
I hate that narrative about Seelovs.
And then this kid goes on to be like, and then their top line stopped producing and they didn't have Besser in the last game. And he basically makes all these excuses for Vancouver without, I don't know, mentioning Edmonton had a flu bug going around their team that was taking guys out. Matthias Ekholm was a shell of himself in that one. Edmonton had to go to their backup goalie at one point there and got results from their backup goalie. Oh, but when Vancouver goes to their backup, it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Technically, Oiler's third string. What should have been. The Seelovs thing, just on that, I think it's incredibly unfair to label, like, yes, he was their third string goalie. He also played incredibly well throughout that entire series, to his credit. So there was another stat too I saw, and it was like the Oilers' expected goals in that series was like they should have scored like 6 more goals or something like that. It's like, so give him credit there. And like the Canucks, it wasn't even close. Like, the series, yes, was close, but statistically in that category, it wasn't close.
Yeah.
So,
and then what was his excuses? I think against Dallas, he was like, they only won because their penalty kill was so good.
Oh, yeah, penalty kill was elite. If he had realized the Oilers also didn't allow a goal in the LA series.
But also, so the Oilers are lucky. So the Oilers are lucky that Vancouver's star players didn't play well, and they got to play a backup goalie, and there was an injury. But then we don't credit the Oilers for also playing their backup goalie, for battling through the illnesses that they did in that series. Okay, whatever. Against Dallas, we're now just saying the Oilers are lucky because their penalty kill was good. No, their penalty kill being good is a strength.
Yeah.
If other teams had good penalty kills, the Oilers' power play wouldn't victimize them as much as they did.
He didn't mention the Oilers' penalty kill power play in the first one was like 50% or something like that.
I know. Anyway, so
no credit.
That guy's a donkey. I don't even know his name, but I hate him. Let's keep moving along, Liam. Frank Seravalli, he texted me exactly 6 minutes ago, said walking back 5 to 8 minutes. He must have been hustling. He must be very excited for his appearance today on the show after not being here yesterday. Frank's appearances are brought to you by Horse Racing Alberta, exciting live thoroughbred racing at Century Mile every Friday at 6:15, every Saturday at 3:45. For more information, go to thehorses.com. Frank, it's beautiful outside in Edmonton. When you go from the rink back to your hotel, are you going pedway system or are you getting some fresh air?
I'm an efficient man. I go pedway.
Pedway system for Mr. Seravalli.
Clever.
Pedway, and look, I probably could use to go outside, not just to get the fresh air, because I've mostly spent this Stanley Cup final in a metal tube going 500 miles an hour. But I would say I also need to do anything I can to get some steps. I mean, who's kidding who here?
Flight much better this time?
Yes. Only 2 flights instead of 3. So that was good. A step in the right direction.
Yeah, very, very good. What do you make? Like, we were just, and again, dumb shit goes viral all the time, but there's someone.
You don't say, huh?
Yeah. There's
Michael Bublé.
That was kind of funny. Actually, okay, so if people don't know that, because the backstory you told it today on the DFO Rundown is actually quite good. Michael Bublé became the top comment on the Canucks Instagram of the Hronik signing when Bublé himself commented, but Frank S. said the AAV would start with an 8. Have you squashed the beef with Mr. Bublé?
We have. Michael Bublé sent me a note yesterday, which was nice. He didn't need to. And he apologized. And I was like, hey, man, you're a passionate, Canucks, not homer, but you're a super fan.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I get where you're at, and just 2 guys talking hockey. That's all it was.
I love that.
That's awesome.
He really is a great hockey fan, and he was the star of All-Star Weekend and all of that. But anyways, this thing that's going viral, Frank, is basically this sports TikTok account or whatever saying the Oilers have had the luckiest run to the Stanley Cup Final imaginable. And while maybe I understand that getting LA and Vancouver isn't traditional or isn't as tough as it could have been if you would have gotten, say, like Colorado and then Vegas, to discount what the Oilers have done to get to this point, I don't think I'm being a homer when I say that's stupid.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And you know what? Matthias Ekholm was talking today about how much playing the Canucks in round 2 helped this team. For one, it was an all-Canadian matchup. There were more eyeballs, more focus, more attention, more pressure. And they also never had a lead in that series. People that were out east, I actually mentioned this to someone in the press room at the Stanley Cup Final the other day. They said, hey, the Oilers were down 2-1. And I was like, yeah, and 1-0 and 3-2. I mean, that series was a grind. And the second part about that series is they also faced a giant defense core. that really made life difficult for them. They had to do things and be in uncomfortable positions that you can say whatever you want about the strength of the Canucks. They still won the division last time I checked. So Dallas, does anyone think that was a cupcake? I don't really like. Okay, so things flipped for you in the last 3 games of the regular season and you got the Kings. Great. The key against the Kings was not making it a long series. You did that. Like, you can only play the hand that's in front of you. So if you want to knock the path, I'd say that has absolute jack shit to do with where the Oilers are now, because you can't fake your way to 14 wins. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Liam and I were talking. It was our Sherwood Ford Giant question of the show to kick things off here from our pontoon boat. And it was, what scares you the most? We decided to be vulnerable as Oilers fans for a second. What scares you the most about what Florida could bring to the table tomorrow? If you were to put yourself in our shoes, what should be scaring Oilers fans the most about tomorrow night?
I think it's more mindset than anything, because almost everyone that you talk to thinks, oh, there's no way the Oilers are losing Game 6 on home ice. Of course they're going to Game 7. There's a reason why only one team in league history has ever come back from 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final, and it's been 80 years since it happened. Because it's insanely hard to win 4 straight against the same team. And you take that, plus also the fact that the Panthers actually played pretty well in Game 5. It's not like they were a broken, disjointed mess of a squad like they were in Game 4. They very easily could have won Game 5. And we, Tyler, we talked about this today on Daily Faceoff Live. In order to win, the Oilers got a shorty. They got a once a season play from Connor McDavid, and they also got maybe the flukiest McDavid goal that you're going to see. I know he shoots for that, but like, you think Bobrovsky's going to not be ready for that one next time? Like, they needed all those things and still won by the skin of their teeth and hung on in the third. Like, when Florida scored with 15:56 to play, it was a pure buckle your seatbelts type moment. And Tyler, you were probably head in your beer at Greta watching that game.
Yeah, I was not handling that all too well,
No.
but I don't think any of us were. We had the whole crew out at Greta, and then it was absolutely rocking after that. Tomorrow night is going to be on a totally, totally different level, and we'll have you on tomorrow, Frank, to do kind of some game day stuff there, so we'll continue to break it down then with you. But I wanted to talk away from this series a little bit. Yesterday was a spicy one, and I've seen this kind of be thrown around. Is there, and I don't know if this is like a weird question to ask, is there any sort of memo from the league to teams to be like, hey, don't do your business on game days, do it off game days? Or is it just like an unwritten thing, or is it just
It's an unwritten thing. I think it's more just a preference. Like,
okay,
look, there's certain things that can't wait. There's certain things that the league has, if they're upset about information and transactions, like, they only have themselves to blame for the schedule that they made.
Yeah.
Whenever we got the schedule in, trying to think, we get the schedule in mid-August, and I saw the important dates, and it was like last possible day of the Stanley Cup Final, June 24th. The fact that, like, usually what happens is the schedule moves up, right? Like, first round ends sooner, everyone can move on. Second round, third round, you can kind of, begin to shrink it down. They kept the original schedule. Game 7 is June 24th, and that's draft week. Teams need to make offseason moves. This is the time of year where my phone's typically blowing up more than any other. And you need to have teams be able to turn the page that have been in offseason mode for some of them more than 2 months already. Since the last day of the regular season, I think, was April 16th. Like, it's been a long time. So there is, to answer your question, I think there's a preference and it's unwritten, but I think mostly they say, if at all possible, please wait until game day to a non-game day, to let it out.
Fair enough. Trader Ryan is in. He says the PLD trade was out of the blue. And this goes back to something I've said a bunch of times. Like, it really wasn't. We are so stuck in Stanley Cup Final mode here that, like, we are forgetting as collective nation citizens here at Oilers Nation that, man, the draft is 8 days away. Like, this is when stuff starts to happen a little bit. What do you make of this deal, Frank? And why is this, because we speculated a lot about a buyout for LA, why is this trade better than just a buyout and freeing up more cap space for next year?
This is so much better than a buyout. I can't even, like, Rob Blake must be jumping up and down. So for one, instead of 14 years of dead cap space, which, by the way, you aren't even sure that you could pull off based on the date of Game 7 and the buyout window opening 48 hours after the fact, Dubois might have already turned 26, which would have resulted in a 2/3 buyout and makes it way less appealing. So that's one. You avoid 14 years of dead cap space. Two, you were able to trade it and not have to retain any salary. And three, you got back someone that fills an actual void for you and someone that you're comfortable with in Darcy Kemper, who's played on your team before and had, by the way, really good numbers before he ended up going to Arizona. So this is a grand slam upper deck home run for Rob Blake and the Kings. And the reason why people don't look at it as such is because they say, well, look at the three pieces plus the first round pick that you gave up last year to get Dubois and then the contract that you signed. And yes, all of that is true. But when you get to 2024, you can't unring that bell. Mm-hmm. So the only thing worse than a colossal mistake like that one is to double down on it and say, you know what? No, we're good. We're going to keep PLD. We are going to fix it. We're going to work it out. And then 1 year from now, with 6 years left on his deal at $8.5 million, then you'd be having the same conversation of how do we get rid of this guy? They pulled the trigger, and they also did it 11 days before he gets full no trade clause protection where he could have say where he goes. You only had 11 days left on the calendar where you could trade him anywhere you wanted to.
Do you think this trade, I guess, makes it realistic for the Oilers to be able to move one of their big contracts without retaining cap?
So, like, are you thinking about like Darnell Nurse,
Campbell, Kane, one of those three, I guess?
Kane's probably not going anywhere. At his price point, he's still valuable. Mm-hmm. I would say when it comes to Campbell, the goalie market, that's the other thing that really changed in the last 24 hours. It really dried up. We went into it and potentially half of the teams that needed a goalie solved their problem yesterday. The Kings got Kemper. The New Jersey Devils got Jacob Markstrom. And now you're kind of left with Toronto, Ottawa, and maybe Colorado if they decide to make a move because they don't trust Georgiev. I mean, that really changes it. So no one needs Campbell and no one wants the contract. And the buyout, at least at this point, just makes too much sense based on the fact that the Oilers would basically cover off all of Connor Brown's bonus money next year on the cap by freeing up the space from buying out Campbell.
Yeah, that's fair. We did get a comment in the chat here. Let me find it. Dacky wants to know your thoughts on Janmark Desharnais extension talks.
I don't think they've really engaged with either camp yet. I think the initial conversations that they had with Desharnais before the playoffs started, he was asking and looking for a lot. This is his first and potentially only decent payday in his career as a late bloomer. So I personally don't know if they can afford to keep him based on what he's, I think, perceived to be looking for. And I don't want to throw out any numbers because I don't have them rock solid guaranteed that they're accurate, but it was a lot more than the 1.1 million projection from AFP Analytics. I'll say that. And when it comes to Janmark, I think that's been a really good fit. I think he's a guy that's bounced around a little bit, probably unnecessarily. I think he does a lot of really important things for this team. And I also don't think leverage-wise around the league that he's going to have a ton to really lean on. If the Oilers could maybe get a little bit of term, You know, and I'm not saying anything crazy, but like a 3-year deal, maybe that's something that would be pretty comfortable for him to want to stay.
Fair enough.
What did you make of the Markstrom trade?
A lot of people were down on it from Calgary's perspective, but there's really not many guys that have moved for first round picks as goalies. And I like that Calgary was able to get one. Doesn't bother me that it's in 2025 because they're still building for 2027 and beyond. And you get a defenseman that you have been coveting, they say, in Kevin Ball. I said earlier, since you mentioned Desharnais, he's a little bit more limited version of Desharnais. Size, reach, more physical than Desharnais. So you pencil him as your 6 and you move on from there. And look, it was never going to be perfect with Markstrom, but the fact that he wanted out really kind of complicated their hand, and especially the fact that he had the full no trade. So it was only going to be to a destination that he wanted, and he wasn't interested in returning for next season. So the clock was ticking. They get their first and they move on.
I've seen this gentleman in the chat before, so I feel like we should throw him a bone. He's a Minnesota Wild fan who's just watching our show because he loves hockey. Frank, he wants to know, are the Wild going to get a first for Gus Bus then? He'd be throwing up confetti.
You'd be throwing up confetti, but you're more likely to be throwing up. I'm just kidding when I say that. Look, the Wild are in an interesting spot because Gustafsson, you know, imagine having this conversation 1 year ago. He looked to kind of be their goalie of the future. And yes, I know you have Jesper Wallstedt waiting in the wings, but you've got Fleury coming back for his 40-year-old year. You've got Wallstedt as a first-round pick with pedigree that they really are believers in, that has had some experience now in the AHL. And Gustafsson is one guy on your team that you can use not only as a trade asset, but also to generate cap space. They're certainly going to be working hard over the next 10 days to 2 weeks to try and find a market for him. But I just mentioned how limited that market is now. I think he would make a lot of sense in a place like Toronto, because he already came from Ottawa. So I doubt they go back there again. But Toronto, like, you put him and Wall together, not going to cost you a ton on the cap. I guess the big question is, what's the acquisition cost?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's probably looking like a second-round pick.
We get sidetracked a bit by that one, but just quickly circling back to Calgary, I keep seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter of like, this Calgary team is going to stink next year. I saw our guy Mike Gould from Daily Faceoff, who we've had on before. He said,
dude, Mike Gould could tell you that the sky is orange. Whatever the take is, I have the exact opposite usually.
But he said next year he wouldn't be surprised if the Flames are like a deep lottery team, like top 3, top 5. Is the plan in Calgary to like really rebuild that hard, or are they going to get aggressive here at some point and start re-adding?
They're not rebuilding. They're going to go out and sign free agents. They're trying to do this on the fly. It's really hard to do because you have to drill down on your draft picks, but they have zero designs on being a bottom 5 team. And I know people, I've heard, not just him, I've heard media members say all the time, oh, the Flames are going to stink for the next 10 years. That's not how I see it. So add in, just for hypothetical, a Jake DeBrusk, add in another midterm free agent, re-sign Shillington, add a top 4 defenseman somewhere that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Like, then you see the progression from Dustin Wolf. You see what the health is like of Dan Vladar. Can you get Jonathan Huberdeau going? I know they just met with him again to try and, Ryan Huska spent time with him. Like, they have Kadri, like, they're really, like, they're not going to bottom out. And I think that's the tough part about where they are, but they're also realistic about not wanting to, because that's not something that their market is really going to be interested in.
They're pretty much what St. Louis was this year, where they just, you trade out the guys at the deadline, you get some picks, and then a little bit different, but similar, right?
Well, the difference is St. Louis has a cup to show for it.
Yes, that is fair. Calgary, no, not even 2004.
Never. Well, not since, they just celebrated their 35th anniversary.
Congratulations.
All right, Frank, we kept you long, but we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for doing this.
See you guys.
See you,
There you go.
Frank.
Frank Seravalli for the horses at Northlands Park. Exciting live thoroughbred racing at Century Mile every Friday at 6:15, every Saturday at 3:45. Go to thehorses.com for more information. Okay. One more thing for us to get to. Oh, do we?
That was Woj.
So it is JJ Redick.
Yeah, Shams won.
Oh, that is such. I mean, okay. So Liam and I we had a travel day the day the whole like it's JJ Redick. Wait, no, it's Dan Hurley. So we were very in deep on the Lakers coaching search, and we were obviously watching American TV and American ESPN while we were down in the States. So it's basically all they talked about for the 3 days our first 3 days in Florida. I'm stunned they're going with JJ Redick.
Yeah, it seems like a weird move, but it also seems like a move where LeBron can manipulate another coach.
Yeah. LeBron's in a weird spot in his career now.
Yeah, he's trying to get his son, who isn't good enough to play, into the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it. Go
Okay.
Celtics.
There was a rumor in the chat that I want to discuss because someone threw out there the idea.
Chat.
Well, people started getting on the Nurse for Carlson thing, which we've talked about before, and people kept saying they wouldn't do it. It's a terrible idea for Edmonton.
Okay.
If you would allow me to, let me explain to you the logic behind it.
Okay, because I need some convincing on this one too.
Okay, so right now we're looking at cap friendly. $25.15 million is the Oilers' blue line right now, right?
Okay.
That's with Philip Broberg. That's with 5 D-men. It's Nurse, Ekholm, Bush, Ceci, Kulak, Broberg unsigned. So we can go from 21.5. Let's just say Broberg gets 1.4. It's maybe even a little high, but we'll bring it to a nice even 26.5. Okay. If you can just swap Nurse for Carlson, 1-for-1, then your blue line goes from 26.5 million to it's an extra 750K. So you're going up a little bit.
Yeah.
But then the left side of your blue line lines up nicely, right? You're going to go Ekholm, you're going to go Broberg, who now gets to play with a fellow Swede in Carlson, which I think is nice.
On his right,
on his comfortable side. And then you'd have Kulak on the third pairing with Ceci. But then if you can move on from Cody Ceci, that's really the only way I'm doing this is if on the right side of my blue line, I can then move on from Ceci at 3.25.
Yeah.
And then use that money to bring back Vinny for 2.25. Now you actually have a blue line that is the same cost as what it would have been if you had not done Nurse for Carlson. Your top 4 is now Bush, Ekholm, Broberg, Carlson, Kulak, Vinny. That's a better top 6 than they would have if they don't do it. And yes, Carlson older, 34 compared to Nurse at 29. I totally understand that. But Nurse's deal is going for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more seasons, people. 7 more. It's not looking good now.
Yeah.
It's got to go for 7 more seasons. Carlson, you're out of it in 3. And who knows? LTIR exists. Carlson's had a lot of injuries in his career. Like, you might be able to do this with the, oh, damn, you know what? Year 3, we kind of know, hey, Eric, you don't have that much gas in the tank right now. Okay. It makes sense. People are saying John Carlson. They're not going to do that. And to me, Carlson's a better defender, but
my only worry would be what's your cap situation in 2 years, I guess, when you need to re-sign Bouchard and Draisaitl and McDavid.
Not any different. It's the exact same because you've gotten rid of CC and Carlson. Like, again, it's a little bit more than Nurse. It's only $750K though.
Yeah.
And Mulick said you can buy out Erik Karlsson if you need to. If you wanted to buy out Karlsson, not this season, so 2026, before the last year of his deal, if you really needed the money. Am I even reading? Oh, no, there it is. It would go 1.3 million, then 65K because his base salary is only 1.5 million. Even if you wanted to buy out Erik Karlsson after the first year, after you've had him for 1 year, his buyout is unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's 1 mil, 1.4, 100K, 100K.
What is it, out of curiosity, this summer?
If you were to buy him out on June 15th, 2024. Oh my God, why would they not?
I'm very surprised.
Oh, wait. I messed up.
Oh.
I was only reading the San Jose column of what it would cost them. That's on me, guys.
Oh, that changes things.
Yeah, the buyout's going to probably be a little bit worse. Let's do the last year again. They kind of had us there for a second. Sorry, for Edmonton's perspective, it'd be $9 million that first year, the buyout in the last year, and then down to $434K. So not a great buyout. Things. Probably easier to LTIR. I lied. Sorry, everybody.
Well, we'll cut that too.
So the buyout's not great, but yeah, cut that out, Aaron.
So maybe not.
It makes sense. That's my point.
It kind of makes sense.
It makes sense
I
because
it
helps your lefty-righty balance a little bit. And again, as much as you.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you
there
go.
we go. Thank you, Aaron. Except Broberg and Eric Carlson are on the wrong sides.
Either way.
But you flipped those back and you nailed it. I appreciate the effort, AB. That's all that matters is you tried hard and you got this done for us really quick. But like that's a better blue line than flipping Broberg around, and it's the same cost. So
the interesting part of it is he went to Pittsburgh and the power play didn't work, and he wasn't because they had those two defensemen, him and Letang, who were the offensive guys, and it would be similar here. But you have 3 Swedish guys on your blue line then.
We could start calling our blue line the Swedish House Mafia.
That is true. There's one player that I'm very intrigued by this summer that is kind of not, he's become more in the conversations where he's not on many lists. If Jeff Skinner is bought out by Buffalo,
I'm in.
That would be a nice little ad.
Oh, yeah. 3x3, 3x4.
He's a right winger, I believe.
Yeah.
Put him on Dreisaitl's side.
He's still, there's no way they buy him out. It'd be dumb.
They were talking about it.
I know, but I don't think that's going to happen, man.
I don't know.
He's still good. And
he is still good. But I look at what Nashville did last year, where it's like, we're going to get rid of Johansson and Duchesne. That was last year, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out for the better for them. Buffalo's just been in this limbo forever.
I know, but they have $23 million. You can upgrade your team without buying out Jeff Skinner, and if you need to do it next year, you do it next year.
Maybe you bid heavy for Gensel instead, and then just say farewell to Skinner.
I don't think Gensel goes there. All right, let's keep moving along. You know what we got to do, Liam?
What's that?
We have a new edition of Liam's Game, and it's brought to you by our friends with the Edmonton Stingers. Tonight is a game night for the Edmonton Stingers, and guess what? I'm going to be in attendance. It is my first ever Stingers game. I'm going to be coming back tomorrow on the show, giving everyone a full review of how much fun I had. I'm going tonight, but if you're the winner of Liam's Game, not only will you qualify for $25 to Nation Gear, or you're going to win $25 to Nation Gear, but we're going to give our runners up. They're also going to get a chance to go to the Stingers game on Sunday because we got 2 sets of tickets to give away for that game on Sunday.
Impressive.
So the winner of Liam's Game, you're getting $25 to Nation Gear. The other people in the draw, you're going to get a chance to win 2 tickets to the Edmonton Stingers on Sunday. Tonight they're playing the Ottawa Blackjacks. Sunday, BOA.
Yes, it is.
They're playing the Calgary Surge, and the Stingers are good, man. They are real good. They are 6-2 to start the season. They are sitting second place in the Western Conference, but they have a game in hand on the Vancouver Bandits. So a win tonight will propel the Stingers back into a tie first. And Sunday, when you go, the listener, you'll have a chance to watch them potentially overtake the first spot in the division. So let's get into Liam's Game. If you don't know how it works, here is the game. We have an easy player. We have a tough player. We give you the clues. Liam reads them out. If you get the easy player, and if you're the first one in the chat to get it, you go into the draw.
Yes.
For the hard player, if you're one of the first 3 to get it, you go into the draw. AB will get our prize wheel spun. We'll spin the wheel live. We'll give away $25 to Nation Gear. Here we go.
Okay.
People have also gotten there. Oh, Aaron says he can't do the wheel. His laptop is struggling.
Okay,
right now.
I will do the wheel.
Liam will do the wheel.
Let me get my wheel. So, Aaron, if you want to flash up the first one. Okay. Played for the Oilers from 1993 to 2003. I played more games for Edmonton than anyone else. I was traded to Edmonton. Played for 4 different teams. I won the Stanley Cup once. Played over 1,000 games in the NHL, but scored less than 500 points. Who could that be?
Played more games for Edmonton than anyone else. I won the Stanley Cup once. Is it the
Indeed.
guy we had on the show?
No, I did look and see if Louie would work, but Louie's a 90s player.
Yeah, Louie's a 90s player. So they played in 03. So people are saying Doug Waite. His career went way longer than that.
Doug Waite.
Marchand's career went way longer. Morrow's went longer, so it's not that. Arnott's went deep too. Arnott played until like 2010, I think. So it's not that. We're still waiting. This is the easy one.
No, you already said the answer. Played for the Oilers from 93 to 2003.
Oh, not in the NHL.
No, in the NHL, I think his career ended in like 2008, 9.
Who? Wait.
It was Todd Marchand.
Todd Marchand.
Kevy Papa.
Kevy Papa gets it
Do
in.
you know who he was traded to Edmonton from? And for who? Which didn't change the franchise, my apologies.
Who did he get traded to?
He was traded from the Rangers to Edmonton.
For Doug Waite.
For Craig McTavish. 1-for-1.
Oh, the trade here.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was put on waivers from Columbus to Anaheim, and then went and won the Cup of Anaheim in 07. Okay.
So it is Todd Marchand.
It is Todd Marchand.
I misread the clues, so I misled the audience. That's on me, guys.
all
I'm
good.
sorry.
Okay, so the hard one, Aaron. Let's get the hard one on the screen. I played 160 games in the NHL, all with the Oilers. I played in the NHL, the AHL, and the CHL. I was a third-round pick. I finished with more penalty minutes than games played. I was teammates with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I am a defenseman.
More PIMs than games played.
I think he played from like 2000 and his first season might have been 09, 010, one of those 2 seasons until about 2014.
Oh, did I get him?
Yeah.
Let's go.
God
Let's
damn
go.
it.
I'm happy when I get one. I don't get them all that much. I nailed it.
Wow.
And the chat's starting to get it real quick.
We got some people here who I've not seen here before, so I'm glad people are taking part. So
Crystal,
Crystal Chase and
that's a great pull.
it was Zach Hedstrom.
That's a bunch of newbies too.
That
Welcome
is.
to the show, everybody. I don't know if you watch and maybe just
Don't comment.
don't comment. If you just come in for Liam's game, if this is your first time watching,
Yeah, well.
hope you enjoyed the program we've put together for you.
So the wheel is in. Would you like to press the wheel?
Do, 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 do.
All right. Let's see. Where's the camera? Who got it?
Crystal.
There you go.
Okay, Crystal,
done,
you've won
Crystal.
yourself $25 to Nation Gear. Here's what you're going to do. Email me, Tyler at Oilers Nation, or Tyler at the nationnetwork.com. Yeah, the nationnetwork.com.
Three
Email me,
words.
say, hey, it's Crystal. I won the $25 to Nation Gear. The other names, though.
What was it? Kevy, Crystal, Chase, and Zach.
So Kevy, Chase, and Zach. If you guys are in Edmonton and you want to be entered into the draw for the Stingers game, email me as well. Just email me, Tyler at the nationnetwork.com. Say, I want to go to the Stingers game. And if 2 of you are interested, or if all 3 of you are interested, I'll do a draw or get one of you guys tickets to a later game as well. But it's for the game on Sunday. Email me, Tyler at the nationnetwork.com if you were one of our 4 finalists. Again, it was Crystal, who wins $25 to Nation Gear, and then Zach Hedstrom.
Zach said, I live in Victoria. I'm out.
All right, tough break. The other 2, if you want the tickets to the Stingers, just let me know.
That was Chase and Kevy.
Chase and Kevy. Let me know if you want them. And if you guys don't want them, maybe we'll give them away on Friday or Saturday show.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get it all sorted out. So good stuff. Another edition of Liam's Game. Your mystery players today were Theo Peckman and
Theo Peckham.
Teddy Peckman.
Teddy Pecks.
Teddy Pecks.
And Todd Marchand.
Todd
I'm
Marchand.
running out of players. I might have to move into the 90s pretty quick.
Hey, maybe that'll be a fun little summer activity for us. Before we wrap up, who have we not given a shout out today that we need to? We do have to give some love to our friends over at Betway. The Oilers opening up as -120 favorites over on Betway. And it's important to remember that right now with Betway, you can get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, simply create an account, scan the QR code on the screen, and redeem your bonus. Place a bet, no minimum amount required. And if the bet loses, you'll get a refund up to $200. This offer only available outside of Ontario. And once again, that QR code is up on your screen. How about we go outside of hockey? Does Canada have a shot against Argentina tonight from Aiden?
No.
Are they going to get smoked? Like, what's the spread?
I was trying to pull that up right now. Actually.
Davies one shot on target plus 320. I like that.
Yeah,
on Betway.
It's going to be tough for Canada. I mean, Argentina are the best team in the world right now. They did just win the World. They won the World Cup.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it'll be a long shot for them. I can't find the odds right now for them on bet. Well, I'm on the wrong one. That's what. Euro, Copa America, Canada. If you want to bet on Canada to win, they are plus 800 on Betway.
Plus 450 in the draw. I actually thought it'd be more than that.
That's pretty heavy for
it is for a soccer match. Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to be very difficult. Canada does have a good team. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, guys like Davies, Jonathan David, Kyle Laren. But Argentina's Argentina. If they can get in there and just have like a respectable game, then I will be okay. Not even sure who else they play, but the Copa America is typically just South American teams, but they've invited some North American teams. So there's 6 of them there just to try and build out some more competition. But this will be good for Canada building into the World Cup in 2026. They need to play these teams. They recently just played France, who they tied, and the Netherlands, who they lost 4-0 to.
All right.
So they're trying to be better. They're playing better teams, which is good, but don't expect good results.
I think today was a good show. Live at Church Power Sports and Marine, having a good time, lounging on this pontoon boat. I'm really spread out.
Because there's enough room. I could spread out like that and still have space.
Our feet didn't touch.
Wouldn't touch.
Our feet didn't touch once today. So this was great. Louie Debrusk was awesome.
Yep.
What a beauty. Love having Louie on. He's a guy I would have him on every week. I think
Oh,
we'd
I
have a
would
great
too.
time with Lou Dog.
We got to get DJ on. I
Oh yeah,
think.
we do need to get DJ on. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we get DJ. We're gonna try and get Hot Sun, I think, before the end of the week.
We're getting some form of goalie expert tomorrow.
yeah,
I'm
a
working on a few
goalie
things.
conversation. We want to know how we can beat Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be at the rink tomorrow,
And we'll be at the rink tomorrow.
so that'll be good.
So
see some
big show.
skates.
Tomorrow's a Sherwood Ford Giant game day. So shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant just down the road. And of course, shout out to our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine for having us today for our little live on location show. I got to go. Got to get to the office. New episode of Real Life. I'm also hopping on the Gregor show today at 3:25. So you can look forward to that. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thanks for being good in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow noon Mountain. Oil up.
Farewell.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.